Have you ever felt your heart grow heavier with each passing year? Not just from age, but from everything life has quietly asked you to carry? A few months ago, I met a woman named Mary Jenkins at a small community park in Portland, Oregon. She was sitting on a weathered bench, watching the sunrise with a calmness that felt earned. The kind of peace that doesn't come easy. We got to talking, and what she told me that morning still lingers in my mind. Mary wasn't always that peaceful. At 70, she had battled exhaustion, breathlessness, and nights filled with worry about her heart. The doctors had warned her. One more scare and things could go downhill fast. But what struck me most wasn't her fear. It was how she found her way back. Not through expensive pills or fancy diets, but through a 20-minute daily walk and 3 simple foods that changed everything. She said something that made me pause. It wasn't my heart that was weak. It was my hope that had grown tired. That line hit me deep. Because how many of us, especially in our later years, forget what hope can do when we start believing the best days are behind us? Have you ever felt that way? Like your body's trying to tell you something your spirit doesn't want to hear? If you have, you're not alone. But before I tell you about the walk and the foods that helped Mary heal her heart, let's go back. Let's see how she reached that breaking point, what she lost, and what she found along the way. If you've faced something similar, let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe if you believe everyone deserves a second chance at good health. Mary Jenkins was born in the spring of 1953 in a modest neighborhood just outside Portland, Oregon. The world back then seemed slower, softer. A place where people waved from their porches and children ran barefoot through the grass until dusk. Mary was the second of 4 siblings, a curious little girl with bright hazel eyes and a voice that could fill a room with laughter. Her father, Harold, worked at the local post office, while her mother, Ruth, taught piano lessons in their living room. Music floated through their home like a quiet heartbeat, and Mary often said those melodies were the first lessons her soul ever learned. Rhythm, patience, and harmony. From an early age, she was drawn to stories, not just in books, but in people. She'd sit beside her grandfather on the porch swing, listening to tales about the Great Depression, the war, and the simple courage it took to keep going. School came easy for Mary, not because she was the smartest in class, but because she loved learning. She'd raise her hand to read aloud, to share an idea, to help a classmate. Her teachers noticed her gentle leadership, a kind of warmth that made others feel seen. That gift would one day define her career, but childhood wasn't without its storms. When she was 10, her mother fell ill for several months. Mary helped care for her younger siblings, learning early what it meant to be responsible and strong. Lessons that would echo throughout her life. Yet through all of it, she carried a quiet joy, a belief that kindness and consistency could heal more than medicine ever could. Looking back, she often said those early years taught her 2 things: the beauty of small routines and the power of steady love. Qualities that decades later would guide her through her hardest battle, healing her own heart. By the time Mary stepped into her teenage years, the world around her had started to change, and so had she. It was the late 1960s, a time when music was loud, dreams were big, and young people everywhere were learning to question the rules written before them. But in her small corner of Portland, Mary's rebellion wasn't wild or noisy. It was quiet, thoughtful, a hunger to understand who she was meant to become. At Jefferson High School, she discovered her voice. Not the loud kind that demands attention, but the steady one that brings calm where there's chaos. She joined the debate team, not because she loved to argue, but because she loved to listen, to find meaning in other people's words. Teachers often said she had an old soul, a depth of empathy that didn't quite match her age. Her closest friend, Linda, used to tease her for carrying a notebook everywhere. Mary called it her heart journal. Inside, She'd jot down moments that made her feel alive. A child's laugh, a teacher's kindness, a sunset after rain. She believed life was made of these quiet snapshots, and she never wanted to forget them. But like most teens, Mary faced moments of doubt. There were days she'd look in the mirror and wonder if she'd ever be enough. Smart enough, brave enough, seen enough. When her first crush ended with heartbreak, she spent weeks writing letters she never sent. It hurt, but even then, she refused to close herself off to love. In those restless years, something began to take root. A calling. She didn't know it yet, but all the compassion she felt for others, all those late-night reflections, were gently shaping her into what she'd one day become. A teacher. Someone who wouldn't just share lessons, but life itself. When Mary graduated high school in 1971, the world seemed wide open. She had dreams of becoming an English teacher, inspired by the very mentors who once believed in her. Her parents, proud yet practical, encouraged her to attend Portland State University, where she majored in education. Those college years were some of the most formative of her life. The time when she began to see not just who she was, but what she was capable of giving. College wasn't easy. She worked part-time at a local diner to pay her way, juggling late-night studying with early morning shifts. But she found joy in the chaos. The smell of coffee at dawn, the laughter of customers, the feeling of independence. For Mary, those moments weren't burdens. They were bricks in the foundation of her future. It was during her sophomore year that she met Daniel Jenkins, a quiet, kind-hearted history major who wore glasses too big for his face and smiled like he knew secrets about the world. They met at the campus library, two book lovers reaching for the same copy of To Kill a Mockingbird. Their hands brushed, and Daniel, awkward but sincere, said, "Looks like we share good taste in heroes." Their connection was instant, but their journey wasn't without detours. After graduation, Daniel was offered a teaching position 2 hours away. Mary had to decide, follow her heart, or stay close to her family and the city she loved. In the end, love won. They married in a small backyard ceremony surrounded by roses her mother had grown, promising to build a life rooted in learning, laughter, and mutual respect. Looking back, Mary often said that was when she learned her first adult truth, that dreams don't disappear when life changes course. They just take a different road to reach you. Mary and Daniel began their married life in a modest one-bedroom apartment in Salem, Oregon, where they both found teaching jobs at nearby public schools. Money was tight, but the house was always full of warmth. Handwritten notes on the fridge, laughter over burnt toast, and the sound of lesson plans being typed late into the night. Mary became a literature teacher, and her classroom quickly turned into more than just a place for grammar and essays. She treated every student like they mattered, especially the quiet ones who felt unseen. She had a gift for pulling shy voices out of their shells, for helping a struggling kid believe they could write something beautiful. When she gave birth to their first child, Sarah in 1980, followed by Michael 2 years later, Mary's world expanded in ways she never expected. Balancing motherhood with teaching wasn't easy. There were days she'd come home exhausted, fall asleep grading papers at the kitchen table, only to wake up to little hands tugging her sleeve for breakfast. But she loved it. Every messy, exhausting, beautiful moment of it. Daniel, ever her anchor, often said, "You teach kids at school and at home. You were born for this." And in a way, she was. Those years were full. PTA meetings, family picnics, and slow Sunday mornings with pancakes and church bells. Life wasn't perfect, but it was rich with meaning. They didn't have much money, but they had purpose, and for Mary, that was enough. Still, even in the golden rhythm of those years, small cracks began to form. Long hours, rising bills, and the quiet weight of responsibility pressing harder with each passing year. Life, as she'd soon learn, always tests the strongest hearts. By her early 40s, Mary had built a life most people would admire. A steady career, a loving husband, and 2 children growing faster than she could keep up with. But beneath the calm surface, life began to pull her in too many directions at once. Daniel was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes at 46, and his health began to decline. Medical bills started to pile up, forcing Mary to take extra tutoring jobs after school. Her days stretched long, from sunrise lesson planning to late-night worry. Sleep became a luxury. Meals became hurried. And slowly, without realizing it, she began to neglect herself. There were nights she'd sit at the kitchen table, surrounded by paperwork, with her hand pressed against her chest. Not from pain, but from a heaviness she couldn't quite name. The woman who once told her students to always take a deep breath before starting over forgot how to take one herself. Then came the hardest year, 1999. Daniel's condition worsened, and despite Mary's tireless care, he passed away just after their 25th anniversary. The house fell silent. The laughter, the routine, the late-night grading sessions, all faded into a stillness she didn't know how to fill. For months, Mary moved through life like a shadow. She continued teaching because her students were her lifeline, but inside she was running on empty. Her daughter had moved away for college. Her son joined the Air Force, and for the first time, she was truly alone. It was during one of those long evenings, sitting by the window with her hands wrapped around a cup of tea gone cold, that Mary made herself a promise. She would find her way back, somehow. She just didn't know that the road back would be long, and her heart would be tested again in ways she could never imagine. After Daniel's passing, Mary poured herself into her work. Teaching became more than a profession. It was her refuge, her rhythm, the one thing that kept her heart moving when grief tried to still it. She started mentoring younger teachers, leading literacy programs, and volunteering to help struggling students. Over time, her efforts didn't go unnoticed. By her early 50s, she was named Teacher of the Year for her district, a recognition that made her colleagues cheer and her students beam with pride. When she stood on stage to receive the plaque, she smiled, but inside, it felt bittersweet. The applause echoed in her ears, yet there was one voice missing: Daniel's. The more she achieved, the lonelier success became. After school, she'd drive home through quiet Portland streets, the radio humming softly, and think about the life she once imagined. A house full of laughter, retirement trips with her husband, grandkids running in the yard. Instead, she came home to silence and the faint tick of the living room clock. Still, Mary didn't stop. She joined community reading drives, took night classes to learn about adolescent psychology, and even led a summer program for underprivileged kids. To everyone around her, she seemed unstoppable, the strong, inspiring teacher who gave her all. But strength has a cost. The long hours, skipped meals, and constant stress began to wear on her health. She often felt lightheaded during class, brushed it off as just fatigue, and drank another cup of coffee to push through. Her colleagues urged her to slow down, but she smiled and said, "I'll rest when the work is done." She didn't realize then that the real work, the one that would save her, hadn't even begun. As Mary entered her 60s, life began to whisper in softer tones. Her once bustling classroom felt quieter. The children seemed younger every year, and she began to sense time nudging her toward something new. The energy she once had for 12-hour days began to fade, replaced by an ache in her knees and a tenderness in her chest she couldn't ignore. Her children, now adults, visited when they could. Sarah, a nurse in Seattle, often called to remind her mother to check her blood pressure, while Michael, stationed overseas, sent long letters filled with memories of home. Mary cherished them all, but after each goodbye, the house grew heavy with silence again. She began to look back more often than forward. She'd sit by her garden, hands deep in the soil, and think about all the chapters she'd lived. Childhood laughter, first love, heartbreak, success. There was gratitude, yes, but also regret. She realized she had spent decades caring for others, while rarely caring for herself. It was around this time that fatigue became her constant companion. Simple tasks, climbing stairs, carrying groceries, even taking a walk to the mailbox, left her winded. Her doctor warned her that her cholesterol was high and that her heart wasn't as strong as it used to be. The words frightened her, but more than fear, she felt disbelief. How could a woman who'd spent her life giving love and care forget to give any to her own body? Retirement came soon after, and with it, a deep sense of uncertainty. She thought stepping away from work would bring relief, but instead, it brought restlessness. For the first time in 50 years, she didn't know who she was without a classroom, a bell schedule, or a stack of essays to grade. But deep down, life was preparing her for something new, a healing she didn't yet know she needed. When Mary officially retired at 70, the final bell on her last day echoed differently. Not like an ending, but like a door closing gently behind her. Her students gave her handmade cards. Her colleagues threw a farewell party filled with laughter and tears. And yet, when she returned home, the quiet felt unbearable. For the first few weeks, she tried to enjoy her newfound freedom, reading novels she'd always meant to finish, watching morning talk shows and tending to her rose garden. But the novelty soon faded, and something inside her shifted. She began waking up with a heavy chest, not from sadness alone, but from fatigue she couldn't shake. The first warning sign came one chilly February morning. She was folding laundry when she felt a sharp pressure in her chest, followed by dizziness. She sat down until it passed, brushed it off, and promised herself to get checked soon. But soon turned into months. When she finally saw her doctor, the results were sobering. Early-stage heart disease, high blood pressure, and dangerously high cholesterol. The news hit her like a storm. She remembered Daniel's struggle with diabetes, how ignoring small symptoms had cost him his life. And the memory filled her with both guilt and fear. Her doctor prescribed medications and advised her to eat better and exercise, but Mary felt lost. Her days stretched endlessly, her energy dwindled, and her motivation slipped away. The house felt too quiet, her meals too lonely. Even her beloved garden seemed dull, like it had lost its color. Still, somewhere deep inside, a quiet voice whispered, the same one that once guided her students through their darkest moments, telling her that maybe, just maybe, there was still time to start again. The breaking point came one gray morning in early spring. Mary was halfway through her daily chores when her vision blurred and her knees gave out. She clutched the edge of the counter, gasping for breath, her heart pounding like it was trying to escape her chest. It only lasted a few seconds, but those seconds changed everything. Her daughter, Sarah, rushed from Seattle to be by her side after hearing the news. The doctor's words were firm but compassionate. "Mrs. Jenkins, your heart needs help. You can't keep living like this. Your body's asking for mercy." That night, as rain tapped softly against her window, Mary sat in her recliner with her husband's old sweater wrapped around her shoulders. The scent of his aftershave still lingered faintly on the fabric. She thought about all the promises she'd made to him, to live fully, to stay strong, to never give up. And for the first time in years, she prayed. Not for more time, but for the strength to use whatever time she had left differently. The next morning, she made a simple but powerful decision. She would change her life, not through grand gestures, but through small, deliberate acts of care. The same way she had taught her students to learn. One page, one step, one breath at a time. She didn't know where to start, but she knew she had to move, literally. So she laced up an old pair of sneakers, stepped outside into the cool Oregon morning, and began walking down her street. Just a few minutes at first, slow, uncertain, but determined. That was the day Mary's healing truly began. Not because her heart was fixed, but because she decided it was still worth saving. Mary's journey toward healing began, quite literally, step by step. After her health scare, her doctor recommended she start small, a 20-minute walk each morning. At first, even that felt impossible. Her legs trembled, her chest tightened, and she often had to stop halfway down the block. But she made herself a promise. If I can walk one more house each day, I'll be stronger than I was yesterday. What started as a reluctant routine soon became her favorite part of the day. She'd watch the sunrise paint the Portland sky in soft pinks and oranges, the air crisp with the smell of pine and rain. Sometimes she walked in silence. Other times, she'd greet neighbors or wave to kids waiting for the school bus. With each step, something inside her began to lighten. Not just her body, but her spirit. Then came the second part of her discovery. 3 simple foods that became the backbone of her new routine. After reading a heart health article from the American Heart Association, Mary learned about the power of oats, rich in beta-glucan, known to lower LDL cholesterol. Berries, especially blueberries and strawberries, packed with antioxidants that protect the arteries. Leafy greens, like spinach and kale, full of nitrates that improve blood flow and reduce blood pressure. She didn't call it a diet. She called it a daily kindness to her heart. Every morning after her walk, she'd make a warm bowl of oatmeal topped with blueberries and a side of sautéed greens. It wasn't fancy, just simple, healing food. As weeks passed, she noticed something remarkable. Her chest felt lighter, her breathing steadier, her mood brighter. Science might have explained it as improved circulation, but Mary believed it was her soul, slowly learning how to breathe again. Keep in mind, her doctor cautioned her, though people on blood thinners or with kidney issues should moderate high nitrate greens like spinach and kale, and anyone with gluten sensitivity should choose certified gluten-free oats. Mary's healing didn't happen overnight. It unfolded like a slow sunrise, one gentle ray at a time. Her 20-minute walk turned into 30, then 40. Each morning, she'd lace up her shoes, whisper a little prayer of gratitude, and step out the door. Neighbors began to notice her routine and started joining her. Before long, there were 3 of them walking together, laughing, sharing stories, and counting steps instead of years. Her diet, once filled with processed foods and sugary snacks, transformed completely. She learned new recipes, oatmeal pancakes with flaxseed, berry smoothies with almond milk, and vibrant salads that made her kitchen smell like summer. Her doctor was astonished. Her cholesterol had dropped, her blood pressure had stabilized, and her energy had returned. But it wasn't just her physical health that changed. It was her heart, in every sense of the word. She began journaling again, something she hadn't done since her teaching days. Each night, she'd write one thing she was grateful for. Some days it was the sunlight on my roses, other days, the sound of my heart still beating. She even started volunteering at a local literacy center, teaching adults to read, giving back once again through the very gift that had defined her life. People said she looked younger, happier, more alive. She'd just smile and say, "I walk with purpose and eat with love. The rest takes care of itself." If you've ever tried something similar, if you've found healing through small daily choices, share your story in the comments below. You never know whose heart your story might heal. It's been 2 years since that morning when Mary first stepped out of her front door in trembling determination. Today, she walks the same route with a strength that surprises even her. Her neighbors wave, sometimes joining her for a lap or two, but often she walks alone. not out of loneliness, but peace. The rhythm of her steps, the cool Portland air, the gentle beat of her heart, they've all become her companions. Her doctor now calls her recovery remarkable. Her heart function has improved, her cholesterol levels are down, and her blood pressure remains steady. But numbers don't tell the real story. What truly healed Mary wasn't just the food or the walking, it was the decision to start caring for herself with the same patience and tenderness she once gave to everyone else. Every morning, before she begins her walk, she places a hand over her chest and whispers, "Thank you." Not to anyone or anything, just to life itself, for still letting her show up. She's even started mentoring women her age at her local community center, sharing her story with humor and humility. Don't wait for your heart to break before you start loving it, she often tells them. You deserve to feel alive, not just exist. Looking back, Mary admits there are moments she wishes she'd slowed down sooner, listened to her body earlier, loved herself more gently. But then she smiles and says, maybe this was the right time all along. Maybe my heart just needed me to listen. If Mary's story touched you, like this video, and if you believe in second chances, don't forget to subscribe. Because sometimes healing isn't about medicine. It's about rediscovering the rhythm of hope. You know, every person I meet teaches me something new about life. And Mary's story reminded me that healing doesn't always come from hospitals or prescriptions. Sometimes it begins with a single step, a bowl of oatmeal, or a moment of gratitude. So if you're listening to this and wondering if it's too late to start, it's not. The heart forgives, the body remembers, and hope is never out of reach. Thanks for staying with me, my friends. Until next time, stay healthy, stay hopeful, and keep walking toward your second chance.